Oh my God. You guys. Okay. First of all, um, I have news. This is my first time recording in my new apartment. And I really don't have everything set up the way that I would normally like. And so if you hear, rummaging in the background, no, you didn't. Okay. Because I really wish I had a stand for my mic right now, but I don't. So we're just going to hold her like I'm on an actual podcast show. And so that's just how today's going to go, I guess. Anyways, this shit is crazy. I feel like I'm at a point in my life where everything just kind of feels like it's coming into alignment. And that is so exciting for me because for a long time, I felt like I was just running around like a fucking chicken with its head cut off. And I had no idea what I was doing. And now, you know, I'm finally in a place where I feel like life makes sense. Because, like I said, for a really long time, it just didn't. And in one of my last episodes, I kind of was talking about that transition into adulthood. And I thought, you know what? I want to do a deep dive into the early 20s. I want to talk about my experience and what it actually felt like going through it all. And just kind of talk about the shit that no one really prepares you for and kind of how you have to navigate this new territory and this new terrain that you have no idea how to get through, So let's get into it. So, my brother and his girlfriend are in their early 20s, okay? And for the sake of this episode, I'm going to say that the early 20s are, 21 through 25, okay? I was having a conversation with both of them not too long ago, and they were extremely frustrated with just where they are in their lives at this point. They're like, we're broke as fuck. All we ever do is work, and we're still broke as fuck. We have no idea what we're doing with our lives. Why the fuck is everything so expensive? I get my paycheck and I spend it all in one day because rent and bills and groceries. Just venting about this experience. And as they were telling me all of this, I was like, holy shit. I remember exactly how that felt. I think the most frustrating thing about your early 20s is that no one really tells you what it's actually like. It's kind of like a fuck around and find out for yourself situation. And that really sucks because it can become a very isolating experience. Probably because it is such a transitional period in our lives. I don't know if that makes sense, but think about it, right? As soon as we hit like the age of 22, 23, there's this new level of unspoken pressure to just have it all figured out. And there are now things that are becoming a little bit socially unacceptable, right? Like living at home, still being on your parents' car insurance, still working a job that isn't salary. You know what I mean? Like there's just some of those things that start to become a little bit more socially unacceptable. So while I do think that these societal expectations are loosening, there's still an immense amount of pressure to live up to, especially in regards to being committed to a career, let's say. So it can feel really shitty if, you're working a job that isn't something that you're necessarily excited about, but you have to work at this job because now all of a sudden you're 22 and you have bills that need to be paid, and then you get in your head because you're like, God damn it, like, why don't I have this figured out by now? Like, I should be in a career that I love and that I'm passionate about, and I should be making money off of what I actually want to do. But instead, I'm here working at Big Boy, and I feel shitty about it, you know? And there's nothing wrong with having those jobs, but I totally understand that desire to want to do better for yourself. But unfortunately, right now, this is how the cards have been dealt for you. And there's nothing that you can really do as of right of this moment. You know what I mean? And that feeling is so normal. So if nobody is going to validate those feelings for you, I will, because it's real as fuck. I think, too, as a society, we push so much conformity. And when we don't fit into the molds that society has laid out for us, we can feel like an outcast. You know, we can feel like we don't belong or like we're doing something wrong. And that's just not fair. The early 20s is like we're jumping into the deep end for the first time, but we don't have any floaties, okay? No flotation device to be found. You just have to fucking figure it out. And the crazy part is that it feels like the rest of the world around you is just kind of like waving at you like, hey, what's up? You'll figure it out. As you're literally fighting for your life. Like, bitch, what the fuck do you mean? You're not even going to throw me a rope or a floaty? Nope. And it sucks badly. The other thing about your early 20s that I feel like rarely gets talked about is this constant state of fear that you live in. Okay, and let me explain. Back to the drowning analogy, you literally feel like you have, number one, no idea what you're doing. And number two, you feel like you have no help in the process. So like when I was 22, that was the first time I had officially lived alone by myself, no roommates, you know, and I remember going to bed every night feeling absolutely terrified that the next day I'd lose my job and become homeless or something. And this feeling, you guys, continued for years. Like I just remember being so scared that at any second I wouldn't have what I needed. I wouldn't be able to pay for food or pay for a place to live, or that I'd lose my job and I'd have to go work at fucking Dunkin' Donuts for the rest of my life. I mean, seriously, like that's what it felt like every single day. Every single day I woke up and I just thought, this is the day where I fuck up everything, where I fuck it up. You know, I'll be jobless. I'll be homeless. I'll be standing on the corner for money. Like I literally felt like that every single day because you just feel so unstable. You know, you feel like everything is so temporary and you have to fight for your life every single second because at any moment it just feels like it could all be gone, you know? And here's the thing. I have no idea why it feels this way. And maybe it's because it's our very first time acting like an adult and we have no idea why it's important to have a credit score or why we are so exhausted on Fridays after work. You know, like you're navigating this whole new playing field with no map, no street signs, just nothing but your own 2 feet. And it's terrifying. You also feel like you just have so much imposter syndrome happening because you're wrestling with this feeling of like, holy shit, how did I get here? I mean, I know I'm 22, but I still feel like I'm 19 years old and I don't know how the fuck I got here. And now I'm like old, but I'm not really that old. You know, I'm grown and I don't know how to be grown. And I feel like I can't ask these questions because I feel like I should already know them at this age. But if I don't ask these questions, I'm going to be fucked because next thing you know, I'm going to be up to my ears in fucking credit card debt because nobody told me that you have to pay the money back almost immediately or you're going to get fucking bills up the ass. You know what I mean? Like, it's just such a weird feeling because I don't know about y'all, but for me, I really just didn't want to seem like I was incapable of finally growing up and becoming this adult that everybody wanted me to be. There were so many things in my early 20s that I just didn't understand how to do. And I also didn't know how to ask the right questions either to make sense of all of it. I just didn't want people to look at me like, why the fuck is she asking the most obvious question in the world? You know, I had to buy a car at 22 for the first time without my parents' help. I mean, they helped a little bit, but like, I didn't know how to take out a car loan and set up a monthly payment system. I didn't know which health insurance to apply for or what dental insurance I needed, and that those are two completely different sets of insurances. Like, what the fuck? Isn't that shit supposed to all be connected? First of all, don't understand that shit. Whatever. Also, let's not forget we have to open up a fucking Roth IRA and a 401k right away in order to actually retire by the time I'm 65 or whatever the fuck. And I had no idea. Still don't really know how it works, but know I have one and, money's going into it, I guess. I think I get super, super frustrated even still because, we never really learned about any of this shit. In the fucking 19 years that I went to school, no one ever sat down with me and showed me how to do my taxes or what it looks like to buy a car or how to budget or what it actually means to own a credit card. None of that shit happened, So for those of you who are listening out there, I understand how terrifying your early 20s can be. And it's so uncomfy living in that unknown space. And again, your experience might not be the same as mine, but if you're in your early 20s and you're feeling these pressures and the weight of the world, you're not alone, babe. Okay? And before I get too sentimental and sappy with all of you, I do want to lay a bit of a harsh truth down on all of you. Your early 20s wants you to conform to society's laid out life plan. The quote unquote right way to live, the 9 to 5, the house with the white picket fence, the dog and the 3 kids, your beautiful husband or wife. No, stop this narrative. Can we please let this die with our generation? I don't want to live in a world that doesn't support people's passions and dreams. You absolutely should be able to go after what you want and not be so afraid of not having stability that you never make that decision. Here's the hard truth. Our early 20s is when we either make a plan to follow our dreams or we forget them altogether. I mean this with all the love in the world. And you're never too old to dream. I just think the younger that you are, the more you'll be willing to go after what you want. Don't wait until you're retired to finally start doing what you love. That's stupid. That's a waste of time. You know what I mean? And I don't know what it is about our early 20s, but I think once we reach that tipping point into adulthood, we kind of stop believing that going after our dreams is possible. Because the world keeps telling us no. I hate that as kids we are pushed this idea to, follow our dreams and that we can do anything and you can be anybody you want to be. But then you grow up and you're told, nope, actually that's not possible. Actually, you'll never make it. I don't know why you would even bother. You should just focus on something that's, stable and sustainable. Excuse me, what? Like, don't piss me off. You just told me that I could do or be anything I want to be. And now you're telling me no? Just because I'm not 10 years old anymore? Fuck you. You know what I mean? I just don't understand why we associate dreams with youthfulness. Is it because, everything else, we grew up believing becomes a fantasy or something that's made up, Santa Claus or Prince Charmings or, okay, also sorry if I just ruined that for somebody's kid, but y'all shouldn't be listening to my foul mouth anyway. That would be bad parenting, but I digress. In all honesty though, being a kid feels magical. And then you step into adulthood and you're like, what the fuck is this ghetto ass shit? The point that I'm trying to make out of all of this is that don't let your dreams die because you're too afraid of not being stable. You're allowed to dream. You are allowed to have things of your own that are worth going after and that make life worth it, dude. You may have to work a little bit harder to get there, and make some sacrifices, but that's part of the journey, babe. And something that I wish, I would have just learned a little bit quicker is that, you know what? I still have to be an adult, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like, I have to fucking suck it up and I have to pay my bills and I have to find a way to make it work. But I also am not going to let my dreams die with the rest of the shit that I have to try to navigate. I'm at least going to keep my dreams alive while I'm trying to figure this shit the fuck out. Because otherwise, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Like, I don't want to just live a life that has no experiences that I'm not trying to make for myself. Does that make sense? Like, no, I'm not doing that shit. The path to your dreams isn't like the fairy tales growing up, It's hard work and dedication, but most of all, passion. Don't stop dreaming because society told you not to. Be the person now that your future self is going to thank in 10 years. That you showed up and you had the courage to follow that dream in your early 20s when shit was already terrifying. The universe, your higher power, will respond to you if you poke it enough. If you show up for the things that you want and you work hard enough and you are delusional enough to believe that it's actually going to happen for you. And let me clarify, not just happen, but know it. Know that it's going to happen for you. Know that no matter what, that shit is going to happen. All right? Take my advice with a grain of salt here, people, because while yes, I'm officially out of the early 20s, it's not by much, babe. I just turned 26, okay? But I do have a little bit more wisdom that I want to share with you guys, okay? Obviously, me, I'm delusional about this podcast because I don't just believe that this will be a movement one day. I know it will. So, while yes, I did go through my early 20 phase, I am just stepping out of the early 20 phase and probably still have a lot to learn about the next 5 years of my 20s. But for the time being, 26-year-old me is going to drop some big sisterly wisdom on you guys. So you can take it or leave it. I don't really care. Do what you will. But I've been doing some reflecting as I've spent about a week here in this new place. And I am incredibly grateful for everything that those years taught me. Now, was it absolutely hell and terrifying? Of course. Of course it was. But it also made me who I am today. Your early 20s lay the foundation for who you can be. The challenges and tribulations that you face. Is that do you say it that way? Turbulations? I think it's tribulations. Okay. You guys, I struggle with this. Okay. But everything that you face during that time is a test of faith. It's a test of your character and a chance to build strength and to build independence, to be able to trust yourself and say, you know what? I can conquer the shittiness of this world in front of me because guess what? It gets better, babe. It gets better. And I can confidently say that I feel today at 26, I feel somewhat financially stable. I have a place that I can call my own. I have a job that I am genuinely passionate about. And I'm pursuing a dream of mine that feels purposeful. So let your early 20s be where you struggle through and figure things out. And it's okay that you're scared. It's okay that you're pissed off that this is the way the world is. And it's okay that you're broke, but you won't be forever. It won't feel this way forever. You just have to trust that these years are meant to transform your life, your perspective. It's supposed to be challenging. And again, I don't want to take away from how it feels in that moment, because when you're going through it, I know just how brutal it is. So validate that for yourself. And as someone who has lived through those early 20s, the smoke eventually clears. You won't be gasping for air for much longer. You just gotta hang tight. I know it fucking sucks, dude. It's brutal. Totally brutal. So I guess moral of this episode is that in your early 20s, shit is just chaotic as fuck. It's terrifying. You're broke. And you basically have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And apparently that's all normal. So, some things to keep in mind, okay? Don't let that dream die, babe. Even though you're society's official version of an adult, that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to dream anymore. And, it's okay to still feel like a kid. I'm 26 and I still feel like a kid sometimes. So launch that business. Open up that storefront. Become that artist. Do what the fuck you want to do. Life is too short to be afraid of what the rest of the world is going to say. So do it unapologetically. It's your life, so start acting like it. Okay? That was very aggressive. But I need you guys to hear what I'm putting down, okay? Lastly, how you feel in your early 20s is not how you will feel forever. Embrace the suck, because it does get better. And you could say that I am living proof, babes. All right? And yeah, at 25, you're going to have to get off your parents' insurance. But by 26, you'll feel like you have your shit somewhat figured out. And that you kind of maybe know what you're doing now. Okay? That's my advice for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I literally am so excited for what the future can hold. And, thanks for listening. Okay, guys, I will see you next week. Bye.